So today we're going to be discussing the Yale University Listen study. Okay, I became part of this study about 2 months ago, and when I first joined, I wasn't too sure. I wasn't expecting too much out of it. But the more I looked into the study and into the researchers, into the doctors that are involved, the more impressed that I got. I then became a part of their town hall. They have, what's really interesting is they have town halls with their participants because they want to hear from us. They want to hear, kind of like what we're going through, what's been working, what hasn't, and they want to keep in contact with us during the process of the study, which I felt was, different and interesting. I haven't heard of that too much. So, what I want to do today is basically go over the study quickly, and in the process of signing up, because they need all of us. The more they get, the more information they get, the closer they can get to trials and treatments and figuring out, what the hell happened. So here's a little clip that I took from one of the town halls. This is kind of what sold me on the study itself. So we're going to roll that clip now.
Your thoughts about vaccine injury, and are we going to take the same approach to look at it, or are there special features to it?
Yeah, great question. So I'm sorry I didn't get into the vaccine injury hypothesis, but other than the viral reservoir, which obviously isn't part of the vaccine, I think all of these hypotheses can still hold true. And that's why we're very excited to compare vaccine injury versus long COVID. We now have really a lot of insights, which I was sharing with you about long COVID and immune phenotype. But for post-vaccine, it's possible that these four hypotheses, except for the viral reservoir, I would replace that by potentially the antigen reservoir, but we don't know. We don't know whether the spike itself can be triggering the chronic sort of activation of T cells and B cells. And that we can tell by looking at the flow cytometry data. I was showing you the activated B cells and T cells. This is a feature that we can immediately sort of decipher by doing a similar study on vaccine injury. So if the injury happens within minutes of the first vaccine, though, it's unlikely to be driven by adaptive immune response because adaptive immunity takes a couple of weeks to develop. So if it's within minutes, you may be reacting to components of the vaccine in either sort of an allergic manner, or it's possible that you may be reacting to the through the innate immune response to the vaccine that somehow cannot be repressed later. So, but if it's happening after the booster dose, it may be driven by adaptive immune responses that you generate with the first primary series of the vaccine. So,
will there be translation of these findings into clinical trials? So what's timeline been? I'll just say quickly that, Kiko and I recognize that people are suffering, and we can't wait for a full understanding of this condition in order to move forward. And I'll give you, there are lots of situations in medicine where you may not fully understand something, but you have some hints of things that are worth trying, and they actually can give insight into the underlying cause too at the same time. So we are eagerly moving forward to try to figure out how we can use this platform to run trials and to get candidates based on what we know already. We're in discussions. Well, actually, there's a potential trial that could run as soon as in a few months, and we're hoping that we'll have a bunch of people from this community ready, eager to go, and we can enroll it within weeks, run it, within a month, and figure out the answer, and then keep going. And then we're all the time talking to people who may have therapies that we can try. And if this group is up for it, then, we'll be able to learn stuff rapidly. But I think it's essential that we do this in rigorous ways with trials.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, to me, that's one of the best explanations, one of the best answers. The first time that I heard an accredited university willing to to accept us, accept that this is happening, and are eager to figure out what to do. What I found really interesting is, the explanation between the initial reaction or something that comes, a couple of days or weeks later. The initial reaction to me, like she was saying, it sounds like, an allergic reaction probably to, the lipid nanoparticle or to other, some other element in the vaccine itself, like PEG, because it does take time for the immune system to engage and to ramp up, and to, if it's attacking yourself, it takes time for that immune system to cause damage to yourself. So, I found that really interesting. So what I wanted to do was, show you guys kind of how to sign up for this study and go over it a little bit. So here is the Yale Listen study. There'll be a link in the description on how to get to this webpage. Basically Listen stands for Listen Immune Symptom and Treatment Experiences Now. What's amazing is that they are accepting and working with post-vaccine adverse events. They are getting this by collecting blood and saliva samples from participants. So from my understanding, and again, we'll learn more as this goes, they are looking at a bunch of immune markers. They're looking at inflammation markers like cytokines. It's very reminiscent to the Bruce Patterson way of looking at things. But I think they're going much deeper and looking at a ton of different elements and possibilities of what's going on, which I like because there are such a vast variety of reactions. I think that we all kind of have common symptoms, but then they kind of go off the rails. Like some people experience, this side of the spectrum, where other people experience this side of the spectrum. So the fact that they're looking at a wide spectrum of possibilities is what I like about this study. So basically who's eligible? Eligibility is for members of the Hugo Health Kindred COVID-19 community. And I'm going to show you how to basically sign up for Kindred. It's really easy. It's an app, which is nice. People that are currently 18 years or older. And basically how the study works, the Listen researchers will analyze the data for insights about health of people in the study, including those with long COVID and those with syndromes after vaccination. Yay. We will invite some participants to give blood and saliva samples as part of the study. A trained phlebotomist from Exam 1 will come to collect the samples at the time that people schedule using Exam 1 online portal. They can come to the people's home or meet them at a Quest Center. So cool, that's great flexibility. How to join the study? It's basically through the Kindred app. I'd like to go and show you how that works. So you're going to click on Learn More About Hugo Health Kindred. And once you're in there, you're going to scroll all the way down. You're going to join Kindred. And basically, I'm already logged in. So when you go to join, let me see if I can get back here. So when you go to join, you're going to sign up. And when you go to sign up, you're just going to fill out a bunch of your own personal information. And then they're going to ask you a ton of questionnaire questions. Those questions are going to be a wide range of things. When did your symptoms start? What symptoms are you experiencing? So on and so forth. And, that's going to kind of that's going to let them gauge kind of where you are on the spectrum and to put you with other people experiencing the same things. Because as this study grows, they're going to really want to kind of nail down, who's experiencing what from what type of, either vaccine or long COVID. They kind of categorize you that way. And then once you're signed in and you fill out your questionnaires, you're going to be enrolled in the Listen study, okay? And then you're going to want to connect your medical records. So if your medical records are online, basically like through, Atlantic Health or another provider that allows all of your information to be online, you you want to make sure that your pop-up blocker is inactive on your web browser, right? So if you're using Google Chrome or Safari or whatever, just make sure that your pop-up blocker is not enabled, because that will stop the connection between the two. So once you establish your connection, it'll send you to your medical record online login. You'll just log in normally, and that should establish the connection between the two. One other thing I wanted to go over was kind of who is running this study. I like to know kind of the doctors that are involved and what their credentials are and stuff like that. I think that's kind of important. So the first person is Akiko Iwasaki. She's a PhD. She's a Sterling Professor of Immunology and a Professor of Dermatology and of Molecular and Cellular Development Biology and Epidemiology. She's an investigator for the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. Akiko's great. I follow her on Twitter. I suggest you do the same thing. She's constantly posting. She's very active in the community. She posts very interesting, papers of what the possible mechanisms are. So, I really enjoy following her. She's a brilliant person, and what better team than to be involved with, someone like Yale. It's a highly accredited, established university. The second person is Harlan Krumshold. He's an MD. So Harold is a professor of medicine, cardiology, and a professor in the Institute of Social and Policy Studies of Investigative Medicine and Public Health for the Center for Outcomes Research and Evaluation. And then there's a couple of other scientists that are involved. But these are the two main people. So yeah, that's basically the Yale study. Like I said, I became a part of this study 2 months ago, and I love the roundtables. And once you guys join, you'll be a part of that community and be able to ask questions and talk to these doctors. And, the big thing for me was how quick they want to get into trials, trying things that work and seeing what happens. I think this is our best shot right now. Is there going to be a magic pill that's automatically just going to make us better? No, probably not. But for us to get answers on what happened and what we can possibly do about this to, slow the spike down, stop the spike, stop the immune response. I'm going to say this is one of the better teams that are going to help us get there. So, I want to thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Let's get this monetized as quickly as possible so we can start helping people out in the community. And we'll see you again soon.